So my name is Marie-Catherine Thouin. I'm the Global Citizenship Lead at Spur Change. So as part of my role, I am in charge of the teachers programming, so the educators programming. And for that, we have the Share and Learn series, for which this session is a part of. So basically, I will start with the presentation of Oxfam's Guide to Global Citizenship Education. So this whole idea of this session started when we discovered this tool. It's from Oxfam UK, and it's about global citizenship education in the classroom, but also in schools more globally. But at Spur Change, we wanted to make it a little bit more accessible than the 20 pages that are still there on their website so that you can still access, but we wanted to do something a little bit more accessible. So first of all, the Oxfam's Guide, the idea is really to explore key principles of taking a global approach to teaching and learning, as I said. So for them, the Global Citizenship Education, so GCE, can help students be aware of the wider world and have a sense of their own role as a world citizen. So what role do they have in the world? Take responsibility for their actions, participate in the community at a range of levels, so from the local to the global, respect and value diversity, so be aware of the diversity and value it, understand how the world works, and be passionately committed to social justice. This is one of the key takeaways. I thought it was really interesting that they showed like what it meant for them, GCE. So based on this guide, and as I said, you will have the access to it, and it's like a 20 pages guide. So these are just a few takeaways. At Spur Change, we reflected and we wanted to do something, to create something that was very easy friendly, that you could use like right away. So the posters are really a tool to print. So they're already on our website, so you can already print them out. So the idea is to invite your students to reflect on their practices. So the first one looks like this. This is for elementary school. Super pretty with elementary school style. So they have 4 different components. So the idea is for students to reflect if they are a global citizen as a person, with their friends, at home, and in their community. So it's a little bit like a checklist that you can put like on the wall. So as a person, do I understand my feelings and understand the feelings of others? So this relates to the empathy we were talking about earlier. Do I ask for help if I'm uncertain about things? And do I understand that my actions have consequences, like my place in the classroom and actually have consequences? What I do have consequences. With my friends, do I listen to others? Do I play and work cooperatively? And do I try to resolve conflicts fairly? At home, do I take care of the objects in my house? Do I share games with my siblings? And am I curious about where food comes from? And in my community, am I curious about the world around me? Do I ask questions like, what is this? What is happening? Do I appreciate and care for living beings? So living beings being obviously outside of just humans, so animals and plants and nature in general, because we're all connected in this environment and in this land. Do I notice similarities and differences between people? So am I aware of differences and similarities between people? And then in high school, it's the same idea, the same division between as a person, with friends, at home, and with my community, but it's slightly more complex as students grow. So as a person, do I question myself to understand my position in the world, including the challenges and privileges that come with it? So do I understand my intersectionality? Do I understand like the challenges and privileges that come with it? Do I apply learning to real world issues and contexts? Do I consult a variety of news sources and remain critical of biases, stereotypes, range of voices and perspectives? And do I remain curious about other cultures and realities? Or do I just look at one news anchor and one point of view and I don't remain critical? Do I know my privileges and weaknesses and use them for the greater good? So it goes with the first one. If I know my intersectionality and I know my privileges, do I just sit on them and appreciate what comes with it? Or do I actually try to use it for the greater good? And do I evaluate experiences, learning, and feedback and use it to inform future learning, thinking, and action? Do I take the comments that I received from my peers, from my teachers, or others, and actually use it to grow as a person? With friends, do I recognize and respect the diversity of perspectives, background, ideas, beliefs, and values? Do I try to resolve conflicts fairly? Do I take into account others' feelings in all my behaviors and always try caring for others? Or I just impose my vision and don't consider the way it might hurt others? Do I understand that there might not be just a single right or wrong answer? And this also goes with the complexity of situations and problems in the world. So maybe my way is not the right way, and maybe my way is not the wrong way either. Maybe it's a little bit of both, and maybe it's much more complex than that. Do I speak up for others' rights and I stand in solidarity with those facing injustice and inequity? At home, do I stay informed about the current issues in the world? Do I challenge the effects of my lifestyle and find ways to be more sustainable and involved at home? So is the way I'm living the most sustainable? And is there anything else I can do to improve it? Do I listen empathetically to those in my household? Do I express my own views and ideas clearly and appropriately? Yes, you can be empathic and still voice your thoughts. And do I acknowledge how my family and background contribute to my own identity while valuing others' individuality? And lastly, in my community, do I participate in activities to contribute to the well-being of my community? Do I consider how my local community is part of a global network? So as we said, the local to the global. So how I live in my community and what my community is doing, how does it affect the larger world? Do I support and encourage others to participate within the limit of their capacity? So do I try to bring people in and try to bring people together? And do I learn about the power structures in my community, their role, and their impact on marginalized groups? And do I participate in decision making at school? So these two posters are, yes, to put in your classroom, but we're trying to avoid to just put something else on in your classroom that will just bring colors to your walls. But the idea is really an invitation to focus on certain elements during the school year. So like the intent is that these posters is a reminder for you to include this perspective throughout your curriculum, throughout your school years. So for example, like based on the poster, in elementary school, you could have an activity where it's a class outside to appreciate living beings. So let's say now it's fall with the colors that are changing, the birds that are flying, maybe have time to discuss about this and appreciate that. So this could go with elementary and community. You could also help students resolve a conflict fairly if something is happening in the classroom. So this would be elementary with friends. You could also have a weekend discussion when they come back on Monday morning on how they shared with their siblings and friends and like what were the challenges of that, of sharing games and toys with their friends and what came out of it. So this could be elementary and then you're taking something that is happening at home. For secondary school, you could have like a news activities. Unfortunately, the news give us a lot to work with, but like an activity on what is happening in the world and reflect on different angles. So it could be a project where they have to record a video or they have to write a paper. And like this could relate to secondary at home if they have to read something at home as a person because they have to reflect maybe on their own biases. And with friends if it's a group project. So we could really implement it in different ways. So really, this is a visual aid to remind you how you can implement this in your classroom. And I'm sure you already do, but it's really more a visual aid and a reminder. The second one is for educators. So it's a checklist. So I'm going to do the presentation about that. And the idea of this checklist is really to reflect on your own engagement as educators. This came out because, like, although we all try and we do the best we can, we're never really a global citizen. We never graduate. We never get a stamp of like, you're a global citizen and you can stop. This is a process that requires questioning, openness, listening, awareness, adaptation. And it's like, we need to go through certain challenges. We need to face certain things to become global citizen, but we are always becoming. We never are. So this list is to invite you to reflect on your confidence, to support students to become young global citizens, and also on your own global citizen skills and behaviors. Again, I'm inviting you to use this tool regularly. So the tool is on our website. It looks like this. The visual is a little bit weird on this, but it's 20 questions basically, and it's really just a checklist where you can reflect on yourself. So for example, I am confident to answer my students' questions related to the SDGs and gender equality. Yes or no? I'm confident to promote a safe and brave space where my students can express a diversity of opinions. Promote an understanding of global citizenship among my colleagues. So again, beyond the classroom. Adapt my curriculum to help my students become great global citizens. So do I question the way I've been doing, or do I teach the same way I was doing 20 years ago? Do I question my behavior, my beliefs, and prejudice when I teach? Do I receive constructive feedback to adapt my teaching strategy? So the feedback can come from your colleagues, from your superiors, but also from the students themselves. Do I encourage my students to resolve conflict respectfully and fairly? Do I find new ways to explore multiple perspectives and alternative visions? So do I try to bring new books into the mandatory reading in my classroom? Do I try to bring a new problematic? Do I try to bring new angles? Do I try to use ChatGPT in a way that can actually enhance questioning? So all of this. Do I encourage my students to challenge our practices? So do I leave them in a, we've always done it like that and it's going to be like that? Or do I actually encourage them to question, why are we doing things the way we are? And is this the best way? Do I explore the benefits and challenges of diversity? So in the world that's more and more diverse, like it comes with great benefits, but also some challenges. So do I explore this? Do I discuss the complexity of globalization and global issues? Do I share ways to have a positive impact in the world? Sometimes I know that students are a little bit, can feel powerless. Do I share ways of actually giving them power to impact the world positively? Do I question the power imbalance within my school and my classroom and my role in its imbalance? So there is imbalance for sure, but do I try to shift it or at least question it? Am I confident to use a variety of sources and media in my teaching and help my students question each of them? I think this is also a very important role as educators. Am I confident to adapt my behavior to different cultural environments, to help students break goals into achievable steps and anticipate obstacles? So yes, okay, we're going to do this. We are going to bring our perspectives to our local government, but how are we going to do this? Commit to supporting democratic processes and learn more about my own role in these. And examine my own attitudes, assumptions, and behaviors. Do I actually feel confident to looking in the mirror and realize some things? Do I feel confident to be more involved in the school community? This is a challenge considering that your agendas are already fully full, but do I find a time or do I find the confidence to be more involved? And do I continue my learning process? So these are the tools that we have developed at Spur Change, and the idea is really to use them regularly, to have them, and it's more like a guide to help you. And we wanted to make something much more simpler than the complete Oxfam guidebook that I still recommend that you go through, but something that is like much more tangible, that is a one pager.